Welcome back, folks. Let's dive into the recent developments at the NATO summit, specifically the action analysis regarding Trump's statements.
Right, there's been quite a lot of buzz about what Trump said there. What's the core message we're looking at here?
Well, Trump's words at the summit have left many pondering, whether his remarks are hinting at a new round of conflict or if it's more of a political game played on the global stage.
Definitely provocative. It feels like his language carries both warning signs and political maneuvering.
Absolutely. It's like he's tossing out ideas that might be interpreted as aggressive posturing, yet there's an undercurrent of political strategy behind them, and the whole
Yeah,
tone really
exactly.
keeps us on our toes.
So, in a way, it's this dual narrative. On one hand, a signal of potential conflict, and on the other, a calculated display of power.
Right, exactly. And it's fascinating because the analysis, sort of as outlined by Douglas MacGregor, digs into that ambiguity. He asks, is Trump literally sparking a new threat, or is it just a strategic maneuver aimed at repositioning?
And the hashtags attached to the analysis Trump, NATO, war, summit, USA, geopolitics, Russia, Europe really set the stage for understanding the stakes involved.
Yeah, those keywords really encapsulate the broad geopolitical sweep. It's like each tag is a window into different layers of international relations. You have tensions between Russia and
Absolutely.
Europe. And then there's the whole question of the USA's role.
And when you consider that, it really raises the question, are we witnessing Trump intentionally stirring up trouble or just engaging in a familiar political dance?
Exactly. It's like he's sending signals that could be read on multiple levels. Some observers argue that his rhetoric is meant to galvanize his base, while others see it as a genuine strategic message meant to send a warning to international players.
Right, but here's what I find intriguing. Doesn't this kind of messaging risk destabilizing relations among NATO allies? It's a bit of a tightrope walk, isn't it?
It definitely is. It's like Trump is walking a razor's edge here. On one hand, his tone is confrontational enough to be seen as a threat. On the other, it's ambiguous enough that it could be interpreted as a kind of political theater.
Yeah, I get that. And isn't it interesting how some critics argue that this might be overblown? I mean, could it be that we're reading too much into what might be, at its core, just politically charged rhetoric?
Sure, that's a valid point. I actually sometimes wonder if the analysis might be a bit too drawn out. Like maybe not every harsh
True,
word
true.
means war. There's often a trade off between stirring public debate and risking genuine conflict.
Exactly. It's a bit like, a poker player bluffing, raising the stakes without necessarily having the intent to go all in on conflict.
Yeah, it's like a calculated risk. And speaking of calculation, the timing of his remarks at the summit and the geopolitical context in which they were made adds layers to this analysis. Those are not
Right,
random words
absolutely.
at a strategic meeting.
And then you also have the element of public perception. I mean, how do you think international audiences are interpreting these signals?
That's a great question. Different audiences, European, Russian, American, will read this in their own ways. To some, it's a call to arms. To others, it might just be political rhetoric designed to consolidate domestic support.
So, it's a calculated maneuver with multiple readings. It kind of reminds me of diplomatic chess, where every move is strategic yet open to interpretation.
Exactly. Like, each statement is a chess move. And what's really compelling is how, in today's digital age, a single speech can instantly become the subject of detailed analysis. Hashtags trending, commentaries rolling in, and even auto dubbed discussions across multiple languages.
Very true. Speaking of auto dubbing, it's interesting how the content is shared across platforms. That really amplifies its reach globally, don't you think?
Definitely. When content gets auto dubbed, it opens up the material to non English speaking audiences. It's like a global conversation now. The analysis by Douglas MacGregor has reached people beyond the usual political circles, affecting perceptions in Russia, Europe, and elsewhere.
Right, and that raises another point the role of such media in shaping public discourse. It's not just about what was said, but how it's disseminated and perceived on a global scale.
For sure, the interplay of traditional headlines with modern digital media tactics like auto dubbing and algorithm driven recommendations changes the whole ballgame. It's a whole new way of engaging with geopolitical analysis.
Yeah, exactly. But do you think there's a risk of oversimplification in these kinds of sound bites and dubbed versions? I mean, can complex geopolitical strategies really be captured in a few minutes of video?
That's a fair critique. I mean, yes, the short form content does run the risk of oversimplifying nuanced political strategies. The real challenge is in ensuring that the depth, like the multiple layers in Trump's rhetoric, isn't
Absolutely,
lost.
I agree. And sometimes people might lean too heavily on the dramatic headlines without parsing the subtleties behind the messaging.
Exactly. It's like taking a snapshot instead of watching the full movie. A brief clip can misrepresent the true context of what's unfolding on the international stage.
Right, and that leads to another point: the effect of such interpretations on policy. If leaders and the public react solely based on these snippets, it might lead to misguided policies or escalated tensions.
Definitely. The analysis we're discussing hints at how these statements could set a tone for potential future actions. It's a delicate balance between firm diplomacy and unintended escalation.
Yeah, that's spot on. And considering the current global scenario, any misinterpretation could spark overreactions. That's a heavy responsibility for both the speaker and the media interpreting his words.
Exactly. The stakes are high. And it's interesting how this one event at a NATO summit encapsulates so many broader issues: domestic politics, international power dynamics, and the ever evolving nature of media dissemination.
It all ties back to how we manage and understand power on a global scale. When a leader uses ambiguous language, it can challenge established alliances and provoke responses that may reshape the geopolitical landscape.
Absolutely. And you know, it's like a game of signals where every word counts, and sometimes silence can be just as powerful. Analyzing Trump's remarks is less about predicting immediate conflict and more about understanding the layers of strategic communication at play.
I see that. True, although I do sometimes feel that these analyses can lean heavily on conjecture, making it hard to distinguish between genuine threat and strategy.
I agree. And that's where the challenge is. We need to be cautious not to overread or jump to conclusions without weighing the full context. But that very ambiguity adds to the intrigue, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, indeed. Absolutely. That mix of genuine concern and strategic calculation makes it a fascinating topic for anyone following geopolitics.
Right, and it keeps us invested in the unfolding narrative. Whether it's a harbinger of conflict or simply a maneuver in the political arena, the implications are significant for international relations moving forward.
Very compelling. Indeed, it's a reminder of how complex political discourse can be and why we need to look beyond the surface. It's been a pleasure unpacking these layers with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for the engaging discussion. Till next time, let's stay critically curious about these global dynamics.